Family and friends prepared to say their final goodbyes to a mother-to-be found dead in Saginaw County. We have new information about her death, but there are still so many unanswered questions.
Honestly, we didn't believe it. We're still, all the family's still in shock right now.
Family members left stunned after 32-year-old Jennifer Webb was found dead Tuesday night in a dead-end ditch near a police gun range in Saginaw County's Buena Vista Township. Police first called to the scene of what appeared to be a suicide. Her sister-in-law, Heather Webb, who didn't want us to show her face, says they didn't believe that for a second. Jennifer was due to give birth September 15th. She was excited about a baby boy she called Little Man, even posting his ultrasound picture on her Facebook profile page.
Jennifer loved her life, loved that baby's life, and
there's no way that she would take them.
No way.
The investigation switching gears at the scene. Michigan State Police called in to take over the case, which usually happens when a law enforcement officer is involved. Saginaw County Prosecutor Mike Thomas releasing very few details about her death, but now says they are investigating it as a homicide.
8-month-old child was not able to be born as a result of this particular death. Mother died, child died, so that's pretty unusual in that regard. An autopsy has been performed. We believe we know the manner of death, but we're not releasing that right now because it isn't going to advance the investigation.
Any comment about a possible suspect or taking in anybody into custody?
I'm not going to comment on that. No.
Although the prosecutor won't point to a suspect, sources tell Fox 2 an officer who works at the Buena Vista Township Police Department was sent home from work because of his possible connection to the victim.
And that's what makes it harder, because this is something that you see in the movies.
Reality has now set in for family and friends who gather to pay their respects at the Case and Company Funeral Home in Saginaw. They're trying to forget the way she died and remember how this mother-to-be lived her life to the fullest.
Jenny was the most beautiful person in the world, and just remember her, remember the good times, and just try to put everything else out of your head.
Webb's funeral will take place on Saturday. In the meantime, authorities are still waiting on test results and other evidence to be processed before they release a cause of death and other information. We expect that to happen sometime next week. In Saginaw County, Taryn Asher.
News coming to us tonight from Saginaw County, where police have made an arrest in the murder of Jenny Webb.
Tonight, a Buena Vista Township police officer has been taken into custody in connection with her death. Her body was found almost 2 weeks ago near a gun range used by law enforcement. WNEM TV5's Liz Gilardi live and local with the breaking details. Liz.
I am here at the jail where a Buena Vista Township police officer was booked tonight. He was arrested in connection to the death of Jennifer Webb and her unborn child. We learned that Michigan State Police took him into custody shortly after 6 p.m. We sat outside the jail for several hours tonight and saw one unmarked car go inside. At this time, we do not know for sure if the suspect was inside the vehicle, but we do know a Buena Vista Township police officer was arrested. He was picked up in the greater Detroit area. He is a suspect in the death of Webb. Her body was found near a police shooting range nearly 2 weeks ago. Michigan State Police brought him here to Saginaw County, where he was processed, booked, and moved to an undisclosed location. I am told that he will be back in Saginaw County Tuesday morning for an arraignment. The prosecutor, who has been the only one to comment on this case, has released very, very little information. This is what we do know. The officer was in a relationship with Webb. She was weeks away from giving birth, and he is believed to have been the father of that child. We also know that he was the first one to find her body. I had a chance to speak with the family tonight. They don't want to really discuss any details of this case, but they say they are relieved and a weight has been lifted off their shoulders.
Well, I can't say it was joy, but it was good. It means something, there is things happening, because we was, having doubts. It's been a while, but things like this take time. And they wanted to make sure they had it right before they did anything.
The officer will face multiple charges, including a charge related to murder and a charge related to the death of that unborn child. And also tonight, I was able to confirm that he is suspended from the Buena Vista Township Police Department. I will be at that arraignment tomorrow, and we will have much more information for you about this case and hopefully some more information about who this police officer is. Reporting live and local in Saginaw County, Liz Gilardi, WNEM TV5.
All right, Liz, excellent work. Thank you. And be sure to count on WNEM TV5 on air online as we continue to follow this story. We will continue to pass along the newest information.
Buena Vista police officer Kenneth Blue arraigned this morning by video conference from the Saginaw County Jail. An officer of the law charged with breaking it in the most heinous way. Prosecutor Mike Thomas says the warrant was issued late yesterday afternoon based on DNA evidence.
We received analysis back from the Michigan State Police Crime Laboratory yesterday and some tests that had been performed, and based upon those test results, we issued the 4-count warrant that is indicated in the complaint and information, and charges Mr. Blue with first-degree premeditated murder.
He's also charged with felony firearms possession and intentional conduct against a pregnant individual. The prosecutor says he was armed and on duty when he strangled Webb to death, also resulting in the death of her unborn son, Braxton James. Buena Vista residents reacted to the news.
It's quite shocking to hear something like that. You know, they're here to protect us, and to hear something like that is, what can you say about that? It's unbelievable.
This Buena Vista hotel manager we spoke with says he has a hard time believing it.
All the police officers, they are nice. They come whenever I call them, they come down and help me. Whatever is the problem. They are all good people, I know that.
Prosecutor Thomas tells NBC 25 that at the first sign an officer may be involved, outside help was called.
The Buena Vista police chief early on determined that it was necessary to call in an outside agency. He did that. The Michigan State Police responded immediately. The Michigan State Police Crime Lab were called out on the scene, and they responded. I think the rest of the system worked as it is intended.
In Saginaw County, Kevin Uselman, NBC 25 News.
Court in Stripes, now suspended Buena Vista Township police officer Kenneth Blue stands accused of murder, his old colleagues making the case against him.
I saw something that kind of shocked me, and to put it mildly.
Officers were calling the night of August 30th, the night Jenny Webb was found dead. Blue on duty responding to the scene, saying he found a body and a suicide note. Tim Patterson getting the feeling something wasn't right.
I kind of looked back at Officer Blue, and I noticed that he was sweating heavily.
Officer Patterson, pursuing answers, says he looked at the calls on Jenny Webb's cell phone. 3 in particular caught his eye.
There was a name that was brought up that said Ken Cop Boo on there, and for whatever reason in my mind it immediately went to Ken's a cop, and she was talking to him.
He says Blue, a married man, referred to Webb as an old friend. Webb, reportedly 8 months pregnant, had identified her baby's father to family. They relayed the information to police.
They said Ken Blue was the father. I actually got pretty sick to my stomach, actually. I asked, do you know who Ken Blue is? And to see if they knew who he was, and they said yes. He's a police officer with Buena Vista.
Once a man of the law, now accused of breaking it, Blue is being held without bail while the justice system decides his fate. In Saginaw County Court, Kathy Reynolds, NBC 25.
After 3 weeks, 21 witnesses called by the prosecution and just 1 by the defense, a quick decision decides the fate of Kenneth Blue, guilty on 4 counts in the death of Jennifer Webb and their unborn son.
First degree premeditated murder.
The jury's decision came just 2 hours after deliberations began. Earlier on, the prosecution and defense arguing over the quality of evidence presented in the trial.
You don't find any trace evidence of any kind of Jenny Webb.
As overwhelming evidence, as unchallenged scientific DNA certitude.
The most important piece of evidence, according to the prosecution, the fingertip of the glove that the prosecution says Webb bit off when fighting for her life.
The bloody fingerprint was pretty tough to top because, and that's why I said in rebuttal, I didn't hear anything about that in the closing. There was no explanation, and I don't frankly think there is any explanation for that.
Prosecutor Thomas saying that this is the most tragic case he's ever tried and that he's happy to achieve justice for the Webb family.
Just to basically the fact it's over, we don't have to keep going through with all this, and hopefully now he can sit back and contemplate what he's done.
I'm happy that this all came down the way it did, but she's still not coming back.
Brittany Shannon, NBC 25 News.
Kenneth Blue sat stoic and emotionless as he received his sentence for murdering his pregnant girlfriend Jenny Webb and his unborn son.
I've never in my 30-year career seen a case like this one.
Judge Darnell Jackson said even half the evidence presented during the trial would have been more than enough to convict the former Buena Vista Township police officer of what he called a cold-blooded, premeditated crime.
An evil monster is the only words that I can think of for you.
After Dawn Webb rebuked her daughter's killer, Blue was sentenced to life in prison without parole for first-degree murder, while he served 65 to 100 years for the assault charge. Judge Jackson also ordered Blue to serve 2 years before those sentences for having a firearm while he committed the crime.
So go to your cage and think about how you squeezed the life and breath out of my daughter and grandson. And I hope it haunts you every day for the rest of your life.
For Jenny Webb's family, these embraces close more than a year of tortured tears.
How do you heal from something like this? You can't, you know. You can't lose a child like that and expect to ever get over it.
But no words or hugs, even swift justice by the court, can speed the healing from these wounds. In Saginaw, Jane Park, NBC 25.